Welcome to another episode of Comics and Sweet Tea. So glad you could come out and spend your evening with me. It's fantastic to have you. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time, do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe right now. Um, the ones of you that haven't, that have already subbed, go ahead and hit those notifications. And drop a like too. Give me a thumbs up. YouTube has an algorithm, and the more of these I get, the further this thing goes, and the more people we can get involved in this thing, have more people in chat, and just have a hell of a time, which we already do. But the more the merrier. That's what I always say. So, anyway, we got a great show lined up for you. One more thing before we jump into that, though. Just wanted to let you guys know uh, January 5th through the 7th, I'll be at Fan Expo, New Orleans. Come hang out with me. I'd love to meet you guys. Super stoked about this. This will be my first professional show. Can't wait to meet all you wonderful people and just hang out. Get to know you guys. So come talk to me, man. I'll probably be the one in the aisle hollering at you, saying, "Come look at these books." So anyway, that'll be awesome. We've got End of Days, Chapter 4 coming to Kickstarter. February the 7th. The pre-launch page is already up, so do me a favor, jump over there, sign up. That way, you can get notified of any little things I might drop ahead of time, little sneak peeks. Got something really special planned for this next launch. I'll be making announcements on it later on. I'm not going to let that cat out of the bag just yet. Got to hold a few secrets close to the vest. You know what I mean? Got to keep you guys guessing, keep you on your toes. But anyway, enough of my big mouth. Got an awesome creator to introduce you to. We've got Doug Knight from Cross-Eyed Comics, and he's also part of the LKC family. So you guys just take it all in, get to know Doug.
What's happening, buddy?
And there he is, the man, the myth, the legend,
The
Doug Knight.
Canadian.
The man, the myth, and the Canadian. I got you. Hey, Canadian legend. It's all the same thing, right?
Yeah, man. That's okay. We all end up immigrating at some point.
Oh man. So we were talking before the show, kind of talking about all the cons that you did, this last year.
Mm-hmm.
What was one thing that you kind of run into that you weren't expecting through the con experience? One thing that kind of caught you off guard.
Um, for sure, flying with materials. That's
Yeah.
kind of like I hit up every comic forum. I checked all my the airline websites to make sure that I was like dead on with like my packing requirements. Um, the Going to Indiana, I felt like underprepared, and then going to Edmonton, I felt like just prepared enough.
Yeah.
Checking out luggage and security packaging and and then when it all goes down and you get there, you're like, you're good. And then the cool part about like perfect planning was on the way back, I got to see like exactly how much product I sold, because when I
Right.
put my stuff back on the scale, it was like 13 14 pounds less or something. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, definitely like traveling with all your stuff. Like there's a lot, and for me, I'm legally blind, so I also have that added thing of going to these international airports, and
Yeah.
once I'm off on my own, it's like I kind of have to rely on the kindness of the employees at the airport to make sure that I'm not heading to Taiwan or something. But
Gotcha. Yeah,
yeah,
that
but it
was
was yeah, man. So
yeah, that'd be a total shit show.
yeah,
Like,
so I would say
stuff
that
is different. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I don't think this is Canada.
yeah, man. Yeah, that's right. So I would say that, and especially for me, like having accessibility requirements, just learning how to travel independently. Like it was I'd have somebody drop me off at the airport, and then I was off to the races. And so it was like a big learning experience for not relying on anybody other than myself to you know get to where I had to go. And I'm in my mid 30s and stuff, so I know that's like it's a cakewalk for a lot of people. But when you can't see the signs ahead of you, and
Yeah.
it's color differentiation can be tough and stuff like that. They were all those were all factors that I kind of learned to navigate with, and I also started using my cane when I was traveling and stuff, and
I got
yeah, so just really cool things for like a path of self discovery. In terms of getting ready for cons, it was or like the con surprise was trying to find that like line for accommodations, like where can you stay that's affordable, where you're not gonna get, shivved in your sleep
Yeah.
versus like, where
That
like
was so you trying to do a show and you got gunshots and
yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah, I know
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what you mean.
Yeah, or well, it's like traveling for sports or for work or anything like that, right?
Right.
Like, well, I guess traveling cons is work, but it's you put so much passion into it that it's fun. But like, and then there's that other thing where it's like I went to Buffalo with my wife. So then I was looking at rooms and I was like, she deserves better. Oh, she deserves better, And so like
Yeah.
it was a fun weekend to get away and for her to like chill and come hang out at the con with Mark and me and stuff and take her time. But then in the same sentiment, like, you know, um, the suite was the cost of like profits and stuff, right? So
Right.
it was like it was a cool experiment for traveling, for business and a little bit of a getaway. Um, but and then in Edmonton, I crashed with my cousin, so I was like accommodations was a breeze there. But
Gotcha.
other than that, man, we're talking about promoters like Fan Expo is like everybody's Everest for getting into the shows, and as you said, it really gives you that like barrier of entry for like a professional, notch on the belt.
Right.
But then Nickel City was is an independent promoter, and the Indiana Comic Con was a pretty independent promoter, and so getting to work with other people at major convention centers and seeing kind of how everybody presents themselves, it's all been a really cool experience.
Definitely. And I can't wait to find out, man. Because like we was talking about back in studio before the show started, this is my first show. I am stoked, but don't get me wrong, I don't get nervous, but I'm fucking nervous, dude.
There's some
I am
nerves, dude.
nervous,
It's
dude.
good. It's good. It's like game day. If there's no nerves, then
Yeah,
you're gonna get hurt, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But
that's sick, man.
I'm super stoked. Just listening to all you guys talk about the cons and stuff and how much of a blast. I've been on the other side of it,
Hmm.
plenty of times, but I've never actually, this is my first chance. I mean, the way I work, me and Dan Price were looking at it today, and I think I might make two other cons besides that this year, the way my schedule works. So I'm gonna try and jump out there and do the best I can with what I got to work
Amazing.
with.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and it's also like planning inventory ahead of time and stuff.
Hmm.
I you get like a feel for what books sell the best. I've got Super
Right.
Wicked White Cell Squadron. It's a great book. It sells well because it's attached to a good story. It's all ages. It's like, it hits people in the feels and it's really fun artwork. So like that's been like my real easy, like, check this out. And then my other book, Chiasm, I've got Zero Part One, Part Two. And like obviously as the creator, you want people to read everything all at once, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
everybody goes for the part one because that's like, one is the beginning number, right? So it's
Right.
like you get home, you're like, oh damn, I'm sold out of all my issue ones, like so then you got to reorder
Everybody
that.
wants that number one,
And
man.
totally.
Yeah.
Um, and then and so yeah, so that's been like one of those cool things too. And then we were talking about like the like social muscle, and that like that thing of like learning how to like spot the difference between like the collector who's willing to rob a 7-year-old for a Charizard and an
Yeah.
angry dad who's following his daughter around in a bathing suit he told her not to leave the house in, and
Right.
the guy who's like just genuinely interested in like not looking for anything that you can grab and like shoot the shit with for half hour if it leads to a sale or something, right? So
Right. Right.
it's really cool, man. It's like like it's such a cool dynamic, the like when Mark and I did Indiana, um or Indianapolis, like we're set up, and he's just like, man, I'm just gonna beg and board for the first like I don't know hour or two, and we'll get into it. And I'm like sitting there first con. I traveled. I'm like, well, so it was my first major convention.
Yeah.
And I traveled and I'm like ready to conquer the world. He's just sitting there begging and boarding, and I'm like, look at this cool son of a bitch, thinking like,
Yeah.
like he just like he doesn't even care. Look at these
Nerves of
people,
steel.
but I'm like, I'm watching all these people walk by, and I'm like, oh, hey man, how you doing? He's like, nah, man, it's a VIP hour. These guys are here for their exclusive Funkos and to like go line up first for the celebs. Like, they're not here for Artist Alley and comic books. And so it was cool because it was that first like welcome to the bigs moment, where I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, there's like an ebb and a flow, and then like you get like the after that VIP hour, and then they open the doors, and like the first wave of people that have been waiting in line for like 3 hours to get in, they come in,
Right.
start buzzing around, and then there's like a lunchtime cool down, and then people are more perceptive, and then you can start like yelling at heads, and one of the funny things for me, like with my Canadianisms or whatever, when we did the first show together, I was like, people walk by like, hey man, how you making out, and like Mark was like, he kind of looked at me funny a couple times, like, dude, it sounds like you're asking people if they're kissing each other.
Leave it to Mark, man.
So
God.
I was like, okay, yeah, that's a fair point. So I adjusted it, and corrected my greeting to folks, and that did improve. So it helps to have a veteran presence to help kind of give you a nudge and
Right.
make corrections. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm just ready to see what it's all about, man. I've
Yeah.
been on the other side of it. I'm ready to see what behind the tables like.
Enjoy every minute of it, dude.
Oh man, I will. I'm telling you, I want to sell, but at this point, I could care less about that. It's just getting in there and getting that first one knocked out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's my main thing. So you mentioned White Cell Squadron.
Yeah.
You've got that one.
Yeah.
You said, is it Chasm 1 and 2?
Chiasm. Yeah. Chiasm
Chiasm.
012. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
gotcha. And you got something in batch 5 cooking too, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Ray guns dropping.
Man, you are all over the place. Talk about getting,
you,
I mean, just,
you should see my
you talk
iPad,
about
man.
putting notches in the belt, dude. Shit.
Yeah.
Busy,
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah, man. Well, it's like my iPad is, it's at that point now where when I open my preview file, like if I
Yeah.
swipe too fast, it just like the app crashes because it's like I've got, so many projects on the go and stuff.
Right.
So I got to do a big cleanup. But yeah, I've got some half finished books. I've got some like rainy day projects. I've got a bootleg I'm working on, like it's you and I were talking, earlier, and a lot of it just has to do with like just everybody who makes comics started because they love to draw or write,
Mm-hmm.
or and so it's like that thing where one day I'll be like, oh, I feel like drawing a cybernetic horror about the simulation theory, so I'm gonna work on
Right.
that. And then you're like, oh, but I'm also trying to progress the next project, so I got to work on that. And so I think it's cool to have the rainy day projects, and kind of stare at a scroll for a couple minutes by not looking at what you've given all your time to, and then working on something
Right.
else, and just
I
trying to keep
try,
it consistent.
I've got 2 projects going on right now. I'm really super focused on the one. And then I've got the other little sci-fi project that I got cooking on the back burner, man. It's
Mhm.
gotten to the point though where the one on the back burner is about to boil over, if you know what I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah, yeah, yeah.
far as me wanting to get a hold of it.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of trying to power through the other one right now
yeah, yeah,
because I
yeah, yeah.
really want to get on that one.
For
Do you
sure.
have one that you're really itching to get a hold of that you've kind of been putting off and putting off and putting off? No
Well, I
spoilers. You don't have to spoil it.
no,
Only
no, no.
talk
I
about
don't,
it if you want to.
listen, man. It's all in the ether. What like you can talk about anything, but if it doesn't look good, people aren't going to care.
Yeah.
I've been like slowly picking away at a Daredevil bootleg.
Oh,
Um,
hell yeah.
I just have the idea of like the blind draws the blind is like really fun, and I think I can make that, and I can play around with like other characters, and do that like 30% of change and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
So
right.
that's like, so I'll pick that up, and I'm kind of playing around with like, I'll do one page of like just penciling it, like, pencil to paper. I'll do another page of like full digital render, like I want to be able to produce something that feels like a, homemade kind of sketchbook. Um,
Right.
so I'm having fun putting that together on the back burner. Um, and then at the same time, I've got like Super Wicked White Cell Squadron issue 2 that I'm working on, and I'm like 24 pages in and just getting to the mech fight. So
Gotcha.
like I'm trying to like figure out how big I want to make that book before it becomes like too much
Ginormous.
and it has to be separated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and I also, because when I started with Chiasm, it was during the unspeakable years, and
Yeah.
my oldest son was doing online kindergarten, which was
Oh,
just
wow.
just as online.
That doesn't even sound like any kind of fun.
Yeah, man. So it was, one of us had, like my wife or I had to sit with him, and while he was doing that, I just picked it up and started working away on a project that I had started previously, but I started like refining and developing, and then I was like, well, they try to, like, you're supposed to produce a book a month, right? So I
Yeah.
put myself to these like schedules where I was like trying to complete actual full issues in 1 month. Um, and it was cool because it like held me to like that 21 to 24 page kind of like um way of like starting a story, progressing it and then like
Right.
finishing on a
Right.
high note. But it also looks like I tried to do a book in a month, so
Yeah. So tell me
um,
this: do you do all your coloring, your inking, everything, or
yeah, everything, man. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're
I let
another
my
everything guy, just like
yeah,
me.
I let my
What?
wife edit it.
Hey, I hear you, man. My daughter
Yeah,
edits mine.
yeah.
So tell me this: what is a two-parter?
Mhm,
What's the one you hate the most, and
mhm.
what's your favorite part of making a comic book?
Mm.
I wouldn't say hate. Hate's a strong word. Least liked part of making a comic.
I really like progressing inks. Um,
Gotcha.
I find that like it on my own pencils. I haven't inked over anybody else's pencils. 1 second, I have to go grab a soother for a 3-year-old. Um,
Well, we don't want dead air, boys and girls. So guess what? I'm going to talk to you. My the one that I hate the most. I hate lettering. I fucking hate it, man. I'd rather have all my teeth pulled with a pair of pliers. But you know what? It's part of the thing that you have to do. So you just kind of have to bear down and just struggle through it. I used to hate coloring, but then, I got into that, and that's probably one of my favorite things. So now back to Doug. Well, let's let him finish his.
do you hand letter your lettering? Like, do you like?
Oh no, I have
No.
fonts. No, fuck no. I mean, I don't even like doing the. I mean, I I cheat. I got the fonts, and I still hate it.
Do you hate lettering because you don't like covering up your artwork,
That's
or
probably one of the biggest things of it.
yeah, like bubble placement and stuff?
Yeah, I hate it.
Um, yeah, I've kind of like learned how to start like juxtaposing my image so that like I leave that space for the conversation. And
I've
sometimes,
started doing that too. Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes it's like just so you don't have to draw another skyscraper, or just like
Hmm.
just where you put it. Rob
Yep.
Liefeld it and just like no backgrounds because they're irrelevant. Um,
I went back. I knew I did it, but I
yeah,
actually went through some of my old art a while back, and oh my god, my backgrounds they were pretty much non-existent.
yeah.
I could have went straight to work for Amazon. I mean, the product itself, it was on point.
Yeah.
No background, none
Yeah. No, no,
whatsoever.
yeah, everything's floating. Okay, so
Yeah,
my favorite part is probably inking, building, the positive negative relations and stuff. Again, because like my pencils, I keep them loosey goosey unless I have to like, impress somebody. So I
right.
go rough storyboards and then like ink on top of that because that's like that, the fine tuning of like the image. So I always like sit back and look at it and be like, okay, cool, because it's like it's the perfect framework for your colors and everything else.
Gotcha.
I think I don't know, man. I think to say that I don't have that I have a least favorite thing. I think probably composition, like in terms of like the book like layout, like
Right.
storyboarding is not an issue, paneling no problem. It's like that part where you're sitting down in front of Photoshop and you're like, okay, now like I got to put my big boy pants on. I got to like do my 4-page counts. I got to like figure out
Right.
where to put ads, what my front's going to look like, my back, like all those things that like set you apart from your first book, which was like you know, a train wreck, and then like your
Yeah.
fourth book and stuff. So it's that like that thing, like the pressure of looking like a well put together magazine that gets to me the most. In terms of like color, dude, I love coloring because I really like the um setting up of like my palettes for each character and like, kind
Right.
of learning how to streamline those processes. Um,
Same here. I find myself rushing through the inks now just to get to the
mhm.
colors.
Well, and when you become a competent color conceptualizer, you realize that like there's work that you don't have to do in your inks because you're going to
Exactly.
go through and saturate, with those same hues and stuff. So and then also it's a good that's working digitally when you're
Yeah.
working, in real life or whatever, unassisted by AI. Uh,
Yeah.
the it's this whole other thing where it's like for me, kind of interestingly enough, is in my 15-year career tattooing, there's these rules, right? Black
Right.
first, you can't go lighter than the darkest tone. So it's like when you set out to like paint and stuff, like I have these like rigid like thoughts in my head of like, okay, once this is down, there's no like I can't put purple over it or I can't do any of that stuff, right? So
Right.
it helped like form like guidelines in my brain for like how I wanted to like do my like on paper stuff. But then, Posca comes out with their sick paint markers that draw on top of everything. And so
Yeah.
you're back to like, you've got digital accessibility with analog products. Um
Right.
so it's cool because it's like you hold yourself to all these different rules. Like there's these different forms of art in your life, and it's like, do you want it to be paintedly or painterly? Do you want it to be like feel like a robot created it for you? Like you've got all these
Right.
options now. So I think that like the creative process is not a drag for me. Even hand lettering, digitally, I
I
love
don't have the patience to hand letter or,
it.
I smoked for over 20 years. I still vape,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, this is not a surgeon's hand. You know what
Yeah,
I
but
mean?
like But like I understand. I'm never gonna be the one that's like that forces anybody to do anything they're uncomfortable with. But I think that like the way that I approach lettering is like how you would graffiti or something. It's like
Right.
this thing where it's like you have the opportunity to establish like a style of scratch for every character. Even
Right.
if it's like
Right.
similar or whatever. Like I think what I focus on is like little things like I'll work on my letter spacing by starting
Gotcha.
from the bottom and going up on every letter, so like just little things like that, and it helps me keep organized like an imaginary baseline,
Right.
or like make sure that like all my e's like match up in the same direction and like serif correction and stuff like that. But it's a hell of a lot better now than it was when I started. And
Gotcha.
and it also is cool too because when you're writing your own stuff, it gives you this like form of like free balling, right? Where it's not like, the quick brown fox da 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 da, and then like
Right.
you've got to delete because that sounds stupid or whatever. Like now it's just digitally it's like it's a lot more freeing. I have hand
Yeah.
lettered with a pen and nib like on paper before, and it is that's like you sweating.
Yeah.
But it's very cool. It looks cool. Like there's no way around it, So I think that like even as arduous as it is, like it's this whole it's like it's just another art form, It's like I don't like doing script tattoos. But if you can dial it in and you slap it down, it looks sick, then it's like it's just as
Right.
artistic as a dragon, eating a skull, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned Nib. I wanted to say thanks for telling me about the True Grit texture thing the other night. I
Yeah.
jumped on there and spent more than I should have. But I'm
Yeah, dude.
telling you, man, I'm loving it. I am
Yeah,
loving it.
yeah. it's a
That
really
rusty
cool.
nib, oh my god, dude!
It's cool, eh?
I found one of my new favorite brushes in that
Yeah,
I've actually started doing my line work with.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's just sick some of the stuff they have in those packages.
The rusty nib was way more robust than I thought it was gonna be, and so, like, they've got
Hmm.
the Sumi brushes, which is really cool, and
He had a
they've
bunch of
got
washes in there too. They
that's what
had
I was
all
about to
kind
get
of
to,
stuff.
yeah, in Ray Gun, I used a lot of the washes for the nebulas and stuff,
Yeah,
and, like, for, like, the image of, like, space that Josh and I had going, it's a lot of black, but then it's, like, the shocking, like, pinks and stuff that we can work into it as well,
right.
and the nebulas were, like, really cool to play around with because it's space, it's like, unless you're trying to impress Neil deGrasse Tyson, like, you put your quasars and your,
Yeah, just
red
go with it,
giants
man.
wherever you want, right?
Exactly.
Um, Kirby never cared, neither should I.
No, exactly. Kirby was a trailblazer, man. Kirby was like, "Fuck them," you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
He's like, "I got a deadline. I'm working on 5 different books.
Yeah,
If they want to critique it, fuck them."
that's
You
right, and I'm
know.
taking a break from military service to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
Kirby, man. I wish to God I could have met him before, before he passed. Good
I
Lord, the
I guess,
stories that
like,
guy must have had.
well, I'm not calling you old, but I guess, like, you probably were conning and stuff at the same time that he would have been working them, correct?
See, yes, I was,
Okay,
and I never made it I actually never made it to a con during that time.
mhm,
I didn't actually start conning until my teen years, and Kirby had already quit doing shows by then, pretty
okay,
much. Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah,
I missed that completely.
gotcha. Frank Frazetta is my great white buffalo for that one. I would have very much liked to have met him.
Oh
Um,
God, yeah, dude. Frank, it's nice to hear somebody say that.
yeah,
I
man.
mean, most of the guys coming up nowadays, you don't hear a lot of praise for Frank, and I mean his stuff is just, oh my God, it's incredible. He's
Well,
one of
so
my favorites.
for me, like, I'm not like, so people have heard it probably ad nauseum by now with, like, the history of Doug and stuff, but, like, I was not a comic book reader growing up because the price of entry is being able to read the stories, and my visual
Yeah,
limitations prevented me from picking up on small dialogue and stuff. So I distanced myself, and if it was on cartoons and stuff, then it was like it's cherry. I was all about it. And then I
right.
could pretty much fake it through every other conversation because you get a feel for things. But as I got into tattooing and the art world more so, you see these images of, like, the beautiful pinups and the power
Right.
positions and all that stuff, and, like, even a couple months ago I was watching that movie John Carter, and I was like, dude, everything in here feels real Frazetta-y, like, and,
Yeah.
like, I had to do, like, the deep dive on
He
Google to
pretty
see, like,
much, yeah, that was his one
like,
of his that he made
I
famous.
yeah, and, like, but the crazy part was, like, just what does that say about his artistic signature? That, like, I was watching a movie and there's just certain details and, like, the way that they presented the women and the like sigils and the, like, fabrics, and I was just like, it feels
Yeah.
Frankie, and, like, it was really cool. It was just a really cool, like, I was right.
He was way ahead of his time, man.
I agree.
Way
Yep,
ahead of his time.
totally.
That's
Um,
like Mobius. Oh my
yes,
God, man.
yeah,
Folks are still finding him left and right, just like they are Frank. And
yep,
Mobius was so far ahead of his time. I actually I talked to Adam Kubert a few years ago, and that was one of his big influences was Mobius. I said, we were talking about his dad, and I said, it must have been incredible. You have one of the greatest comic book artists ever, and you're playing around uh, pulling shit out of your diaphragm, and he's laying down Spider-Man and shit
yeah,
like that up above
yeah.
you on his desk. And he kind of laughed. He said, "Yeah." And he said, "And even growing up, I didn't appreciate him." He said,
No,
I was a Mobius fan, you
yeah.
know.
Well, I think
But
that's
Joe, and I've done deep dives on Joe here in the last few years. His work, man, what he could do with space. I mean, I can't think of one in particular. There's so many different ones, but the what he could do with one page, I mean, it was incredible what he could do with it, man. With the
Mhm.
space, he mastered that. I
Yeah.
think
It's the
I've never
directorial
seen
eye,
anybody
right?
even come close to it.
Yeah, it's that thing where it's like there's, the other day, a writer was speaking and they're talking about like, how do you write best for like comic books and stuff, and like in me, like for me, like I go the Marvel method where it's like I slap my pencils down and then I just like add in
Right.
words and stuff, and because the story's in here, and then
Hmm.
the ability to express it is just me, dicking around until I'm happy with the finished product.
Right.
But the for me, like I always think about like there's the story, there's like the beginning and the end that I want to get to, but then there's the camera guy that's sitting there with like infinite budget and like unlimited flexibility, that's
Right.
just like, okay, I want to see like this kid's drinking a Slurpee, that monster's coming in, we got to see the lighthouse and a big wave, and so like I think it's just like it's
Exactly.
that um the gift of tattooing is learning the importance of composition. And so,
Right.
I'm all about the S curve, and I'm about like three primary objects and like odd numbers and stuff like that. And I think that like
Gotcha.
that design sensibility really starts to show. So when you see it in other people's work, or when you see things that like other people are doing, where you're like, oh, dude, that perspective is just so good, like it's
Yeah.
it's it's cool when you feel like it's a gift.
Right. And it's amazing. Some people just have it. You know,
Mhm.
it's insane what they can do with it too. It's crazy. I've talked to several people. You can make anything interesting
Mhm.
with perspective. I mean,
Totally,
you
man.
can make the most boring shit ever
Mhm.
incredible by just changing the perspective of the drawing. And
Yeah.
you want something that's going to pull them in,
Mhm.
because we've got 20 something pages to sell them, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You want
Well, first you got one page,
Yes. Yeah.
me and Brandon talked about, you've got one page, you got
Yeah.
that cover.
Yeah, you got the cover.
Okay. So after you get them with that cover
Yeah.
and you got them with a story, you got 20 pages to keep them.
Mhm.
It's just like fishing, man. You got to get the right bait.
Mhm.
And I mean, you gotta hook them. You
Yeah.
gotta get
Yeah.
in there, hook them, and set that thing. That's how you keep your long term readers.
How do you feel about cover art not being in line with the overall interior theme?
As far as
Well,
I let me tell you what I think you're talking about.
yeah.
A lot of covers nowadays, you got a lot of floating heads, and it has jack shit to do with what's in the book. Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about? Whereas in the
No,
old
I
days, when I was coming up, it was usually a panel from the book
Mm.
on the cover.
Mhm. I like that. I think for me it's more like that, a first time book producer commissions,
Yeah.
Alex Ross to do their cover,
Hmm.
and Alex Ross does Alex Ross on the cover, and you're like, whoa, and you
Yeah.
open the book and it's like,
What the fuck?
Comic Sans
Yeah.
lettering, and like and like really like adequate attempt at initial storyboarding, so it's like I mean that's really dramatic obviously, but like I've picked up books before, it's like the cover primo, and then the
Yeah.
interior just it's either feels rushed or it
Kickstarter's
doesn't.
famous for that.
Yeah, yeah, I think so, man. I like, and it's not that the art, it's just like the art in the books still fantastic, but there's other elements of it, whether it's the writing
Right.
or the lettering or the like just certain things where
Exactly.
it's like
And sometimes, I mean, sometimes it's just the art, man.
mhm,
Sometimes
mhm,
people are just not there. I mean, I
yep,
got all the respect in the world for them for going forward and getting that
mhm,
project out there. But still, I mean, you can put sprinkles on a turd, but it's still a turd.
yeah, man,
I mean,
yeah,
you can
yeah,
do it
yeah, yeah.
all day long.
Well, I've got like a cool and
The
cool.
sprinkles don't make it taste any better, and you don't need to be eating shit. I mean, it's just all there
Yeah,
is to it.
we all eat a little bit of shit at some point, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. For in terms of like what you're talking about with perspective, what's interesting for the way that my eyes see is like both eyes are different prescriptions. And
Okay,
so like and like my when my glasses come off, they go like whatever direction they want to go in, right? Because it's like they're being held in and like focused on. But like, when my wife and I started dating, there was all these interactions where like and it happens like it happened with Mark, it happened with like, it happens with people that I work with where like nobody truly grasps like how differently I see things.
yeah,
Until like these like what the hell moments happen, like we go on dates and we go to a restaurant and like she'd be like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna get, and I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna get this, right? And she it worked for me because she thought I was being like adventurous, trying the new thing on the menu and stuff, right? But like little did
right,
she know, I just walk in, see the biggest thing advertised, and say I'm going to try that, right?
yeah.
But like we were walking through a park one day, and I was like, goddamn kids. And she's like, what? I'm like they have no respect. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, look at that's a $45 football. They just left it like it's garbage and they walked away from it, left it sitting there in the field. And she goes, honey, that's a bag of chips.
Damn,
you know,
damn, dude.
so it's like there's these things where like I laugh about it because it is
Yeah,
what it is. um but yeah, it's how you see things, and how you can make it
right,
interesting. Living in a big city is cool because sometimes you go to like I don't live in a big city, but I visit it regularly enough. You go to Toronto and it's like things are always changing and there's always construction and there's always these what seems like a new building, and so it's cool to take it all in and be like, damn, that's just a whole other like thing to imprint on yourself, so that next time you sit down and draw towers, you can try to replicate that glass pattern or those bricks, and
right.
it's very cool.
What's your favorite part? And it sounds like you really enjoy perspective, but what's your favorite part of the page as far as is it the composition, backgrounds? What's kind of your favorite thing when you start laying out a page and
I,
and
I
putting
like
final pencils on?
I like characterizing my images and like working on the dynamicism of the movement. Like I really like
Gotcha.
directing
Yeah.
the eye. Like I pride myself on like as cheesy as that like jumping punches and like the opposing beast, like there's just something so beautiful and so like so
Right.
ancient in the expression of that. And so I love doing all that stuff.
And
And
it's tough making it fluid, you know. I mean,
yes.
especially in two dimensions. I, that's probably one of my biggest challenges. When I'm making a book.
I think it's everybody's. I got those Body Coon dolls,
Yeah,
and they're cool to play with, but unfortunately, my 3-year-old also thinks that, which is why I no longer have a
you
right
have to
hand on
fight
it.
her over them. Huh?
Yeah, man. So I gotta, it's a challenge on that end. But those are really fun to play around with for perspective.
Yeah.
The one of the like so in Super Wicked White Cell Squadron 2, um, I had a really funny panel that I built where I have one of the characters doing a flying kick, and the gesture, like the automatopoeia there, is just the word for it in Taekwondo. So it just says Teo Apchegi, and like it's only like something that like people who do Taekwondo are gonna get when they pick up the book
Right.
or whatever. But like it's still I made it look like bah, like it feels like the name of something. So I
Yeah.
think it's just like it's marrying everything and just making like I like when the image makes somebody look at it and think like, damn, I want to draw. Because that's what drew
Right.
me, like that's what got me into it, was like that thing where it's like Spider-Man was so alluring as a child, or the biker mice from Mars, or like all these other cartoons that I grew up with, Street Sharks and Gargoyles, and even
Gotcha.
the Mighty Ducks. Like there's just this whole crop of 90s cartoons where like when I was a little kid in the hospital, I just started drawing, and like I realized that like the price of entry there is just drawing. It's
Yeah.
just like you can make these characters. It's like, oh, I'm gonna give this a horn. Oh shit, I can draw a horn on this thing. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's like once you realize that the power is there, then it's like I don't really care what my teacher's saying. I'm sitting here drawing a spider person, like
Right, right.
so it's I don't know, man. I think the majesty is just like seeing what you can do to make everybody like, you know, feel really cool. I think we might meet Ronnie. Are you coming down? Come on down.
What would
Yeah.
you say is probably some of your biggest influences on your work?
I would say that
Hey, bud.
this is Ronnie. It's okay.
Nice to meet you, Ronnie.
Um, I would say that biggest influence would be anything that like the '90s comics and stuff. Your Spawns, your Savage Dragons. They really
Right.
got me as a kid. Okay, go have a snack. Um, I think that I don't know. I do my best to like keep my stories linear to like my own experiences. So
Gotcha.
that, I can, whether it's fresh or whether it's whatever, I know that I'm writing from my own, lens. Um, not like, not stepping out of like the comfort zone in a way where it's going to feel disingenuine in my overall finished product.
I got
Um, but I don't know, man. Inspirational. I think it's just the fact that a blank page is just a blank page. It's just like it's an opportunity to do something cool. It's a way to kill time. It's a way to spread some good vibes into the world, or heavy vibes or whatever. So
right. That's one of my favorite things about comics. I mean, the possibilities are absolutely endless.
mhm.
I mean, they really are, man.
Yeah,
It's
man.
wide open.
Yep.
You said it yourself. It's a blank page, and guess what? It doesn't cost you a fucking dime to
Nope.
go in there and just create a whole universe.
No,
You
it's
know, and
infinite possibilities.
any power that you can possibly imagine,
Hmm.
you can put on that piece of paper. It's
Yep.
amazing.
Totally.
No
Yep.
other medium can do what comics do. You
No,
know,
and you really see that in today's media because so many things are becoming a point of reference from comics, not just your superhero
right?
movies and stuff like that, but like, there's been shows that I've seen that it were surprising to me to find out that they were inspired by graphic novels and stuff.
Oh,
Um,
there's a pile of them.
it's really cool, man. It's like I feel like, the there's like this I think there's like this real thought that's coming along with like your superhero fatigue and stuff like that. Like superhero fatigue only exists for the people that are fresh to superheroes. They're
Right.
just like, okay, I've seen it. But like there's still dudes that are like 35, 65, whatever, like that are just like they still remember how like crap the first Daredevil looked versus what's
Yeah.
being produced now, and it's just like I have these like the young kids in tattooing where like I'll be sitting there and they'll be talking to me like, oh, what do you think about this? Like I happen to think that the costume was this. I'm like, listen, man, they're giving you what you want, whether you like it or not. Like they're still giving you what you want. So it's like
Right.
what we've got now is like this thing where it's like I see it as I'm not just selling comics. I'm like the next an executive to Netflix might walk past my booth, and if I'm not charismatic and if I don't show them that my book is fantastic, they're never going to look at me and think, "Damn, that would make a
Oh,
cool cartoon." Like
exactly.
yeah,
I
man.
know exactly what you're saying. You mentioned the hero fatigue. There's so much out there that has jack shit to do with heroes that
Hmm.
people have no idea that it's attached to comics. Road to Perdition. That was a comic. That was a graphic novel.
Wow.
Tom
Yep.
Hanks, that gangster movie.
Hmm.
And there's so much out there that started in comics, and people
Hmm.
just have no idea. All they think about is the heroes and tights, and
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is very like it's just it's this thing where it's like there's this love, and like it comes through and like yeah, there's merch and there's team meetings and there's things for strategizing your sales and like there's a minutia and like yeah, there when you're working for the big companies, I'm sure there's people that do all that thinking for you and stuff. But
Yeah,
like it's this love that this baseline, like, you know, making these pictures, like this little mountain range that I sketched that turned into a battle with, you know, my like satire of Spawn, you know, and like,
Right.
you know, you turn in this like this whole thing into like this shit that you just love to draw as a kid, you know, and
Exactly.
like
And
I
people
was
gravitate to that.
totally, man.
When me and Brandon were doing that show, I don't know if you've caught it yet or not.
Not yet, no.
I mentioned some of that, talking about that exact same thing that you're kind of touching on now. People can smell bullshit a mile
Hmm.
away. You
Absolutely.
can't bullshit them,
Yep. Yep.
and when you put that kind of love and that kind of passion in a project, it sells itself
Hmm.
because people see it. They
Yep.
gravitate to
Totally.
it.
The
If you just threw it out there and you half-assed it and thinking you're going to be a millionaire or a billionaire, or you're fixing to sell it to Netflix,
Yep.
wrong, because
Yeah, man.
nobody's going to buy it.
Nope. You're gonna have 250 copies of, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
The cool thing was like, so Ray Gun is like the most recent thing that's coming out, and it's the first book that I'm actually like getting published with the LKC like stamp on it and everything.
Right.
It was a project that I did with Josh Jones, who does the Guitar Pirate and Epic Nerd Time podcast.
Yeah.
And
How was that? I didn't mean to interrupt. He is so freaking awesome, man. How was that experience working with him?
he's like so it's funny. So like you are, if I'm correct, a blue collar working man, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so am I, and so is he, and so like there's this attitude with like the really hardworking dudes where it's like, hey man, I haven't spoken to you in 3 days because I've been up to my eyeballs in, you know, projects and stuff. It's like, and there's this understanding too, where it's
Right.
like I get it. So it's like it was really cool because when we touch base, you know, we speak like quick form conversation, right? So it's like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I've got. How do you feel about this? Let me know. And it'd be like
You
two, three
developed a
days.
quick shorthand. Just,
Exactly.
I mean, it was almost instantaneous
Yes,
because we
totally.
are blue collar. You
Yep,
know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like for Josh, it's his first um like kick at a comic book. So he created the concept and he put together the script. And he took it to Mark and he's like, what should I do with this? And Mark's like, you got to work with
Yeah.
somebody that's gonna be like your Sherpa in the mountain, you know?
Right.
And so it was sick because like um he brought it to my attention and I like sat with it. I did some sketching and then I kind of like channeled that like, you know, the blue collar vibe and like um sent him some stuff and like he had a lot of swear words in his reply, but they were all good.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like this thing where it's like, you know, when you work with somebody, um, you know, there's that like that click, you know, and it's that thing where it's
Right.
like, you know, if you can like connect on that level where it's like things are good and there's a vibe, then everything like as fun as you create it. And so, you know, there'd be pages where I would lay down his script and I'd put him in places where I thought it would go, but then there's like a void in, you know, comedy or something where like I knew we could like spice it up a little bit. So I would add a little bit and then I'd send it to him and he liked it. So it was like this really cool cohesive experience where like even though I did the drawing and the coloring and the lettering and you know whatever, you know, his backbone, that like the backbone that he provided for it really makes me look through the project and feel like
Yeah.
he was with me every step of the way, all the color palettes, all the, you know, like we did the like one of the characters tattoos is the reverse mermaid, you know, the
Oh
fish
wow.
top and the lady's legs. And
Yeah.
like and as soon as I just like put it on the character, he's like, dude, you know, you've got to give me that tattoo now, right? So uh
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, man. So it's just like it's really cool working with somebody. Like it's refreshing to do that as much as it is like working by yourself because like it's cool to have that, you know,
Oh
um
God. Yeah.
source of accountability
Right.
and you know there wasn't so much a timeline for us. It's just a matter of like let's get it done and let's be happy with it and let's see what we can do, you know, on top of it. So so it was really cool, man. I really liked working with Josh for Ray Gun.
Well, dude, I can't wait to dive into it and read it and
Yeah,
see what y'all got cooking, man.
it's gonna be
So
cool.
so so tell me this. You mentioned several different projects. Do you have one you're kind of sitting on that's kind of half baked right now that you're planning? Still kind of in the conceptual phase where you're thinking maybe a multi arc or maybe an ongoing series?
Yeah, so funny enough is I have a story called The Man from Scratch, and,
Oh wow,
I've got it in, like, the first like, a little Susan of it is in one of the trash cans that, Max Flowers put out, and, it's a story of the creative process, and so,
cool.
like and, like, my way of, like, designing it was, like, really linear paneling, very minimal words when it doesn't have to be words, and it's, like, there's, like, vast voids and, like, single focus on characters and stuff, and, like, there's a
Right.
whole part where he hits a wall, like, the literal wall, right? And it's so funny because, like, the project itself, after I got past the wall, hit the wall, um, and so,
Wow.
like, like, I feel like by drawing the wall on the project, I manifested it in myself, but, like, I've got, like, um it explores like the importance of music pushing you through, creation and sandcastles before skyscrapers and stuff like that. So it's really cool. It's going to be a really fun project when I get the wheels on the road with it. And then I want to have it as like a 3-part series where it's like the man from scratch, and then the man from or the man who's been there or something, and it's like
Yeah.
it explores like the book, instead of being like the creative process, it's like just him walking through like the city streets of like everything he's tired of drawing, so like the
Gotcha.
hand store and like the nose emporium, really funny stuff that like, it's
Right.
just
Right.
and then like there's the last book would be like the man who's done that, and it's
Hmm.
just like that, maybe it's even just a story about like him talking about um the experiences of not having imposter syndrome anymore, and like, so that's my project that like is in the ether. So maybe it's like when I'm
I
like,
gotcha.
Scott Snyder recognizable, and I can run that like $80,000 Kickstarter to fund a uncompleted
Yeah.
book, you know.
I hear you, man. Well, hey, best of luck on that. I
Yeah,
mean,
thanks, man.
it sounds incredible. I mean, it really does. Such a unique take, you know. You,
Yeah,
you,
man.
that's another thing, that I love about indie. I mean, you- anything's possible. You know,
Yes,
it
totally.
doesn't have to be tight.
No.
Everybody gets hung up on heroes.
Mhm.
I'm
Oh, wait. A small. I just got to like insert something there. It does have to be Tights, because Tights is a great book brought to you
yeah,
by sorry, Chris
good
Wigan.
catch. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So everything is superheroes, but like Tights, go buy Tights. Good book.
Yeah, yeah. We want to sell your book, brother.
Yeah.
Buy the Tigers. Go out and buy Tigers today. Yeah.
um, no, but I agree with you, man. It's what you can make with nothing, and that kind of brings me to my question. Like when you were like really on the hunt for like your comic book journey, did you ever have aspirations of working for any of the big guys, or were you
Oh yeah.
always?
I
Yeah,
mean, who doesn't?
yeah.
I've told this story probably a million times, so I'm gonna go a million one.
Let's go million one.
Um, because it never gets old to me, man. When I was coming out of high school, my dream was to go to Joe Kubert School of Art,
Mhm,
and of course, my dream was to work for the big two, or at least one of the big two,
mhm.
or if not, jump off the image because that was the thing by then. That was actually the dream. Jim Lee would he would find me as his golden boy, and I would become the next best thing, since sliced fucking bread.
Yeah. Jerry Lee.
That was a dream. And, honestly, I'm glad it didn't work out that way,
Mhm.
Doug, because I think I would have burned out. I don't think I would have near the appreciation that I do for the medium that I do now, getting into it so late.
Mhm.
And if it had been handed to me on a silver platter, I'd have burnt out. I'd have probably started working for I'd have probably left comics and pulled a Joe Mad. I'd be working with a video game developer or something like that,
Mhm.
making gazillions of dollars, and just people would have forgotten me in comics.
I think
Where now I'm scratching and clawing, just trying to get my way in the door and loving every second of it.
I personally I want to explore a few different things. I want to talk to the indie creator that made it, because I want to see like what their take of the Glass Palace is.
Yeah,
Because obviously when it's not indie, you're follow like you have to follow the rules and you got to wear the uniform and you got to like, you know, if Green Lantern's left butt cheek doesn't have that dimple, it's not Green Lantern's butt cheek, right? So like
exactly. Yeah,
there's these rules you have to follow. So I really want to talk to somebody about that kind of continuity and what it's like to have to report. But then I also want to like, you have these other guys that have the reputation that we kind of just touched on, where it's like, and then they're like, I want to make my indie project, and they jump to crowdfunding, and
yeah,
like all the salmon swimming upstream just get like whooped to rat shit by the grizzly bear because his campaign crushes
yeah. Like a Sean Gordon Murphy.
yeah, like a 4-year salary, like
Yeah,
on one project, and then they can put all the whatever. So I think it'd be really cool to like to have that sit down, and then like I've now been able to speak to like the jobsters, the guys that have had careers and lifelong careers in comics doing really big things, and like one of the coolest conversations I had was with Ken Lashley in Buffalo, and he's just like, you're doing the work that like nobody wants to do. Like
yeah,
you've got your product. You are yelling at people's heads that don't know you. You are like taking that chance to like sell something that like you believe in. And so it was cool because it really put that thing in my head where it's like, if I ever do achieve, a different level of success versus what I'm happy with doing now, I will know the ins and outs of like, not being a stinky con goer and like, how to be respectful to everybody. And like,
yeah.
it's the price of entry on it. I think I've said it like 900 times now is like, just doing the work, just putting it out there and creating a
Right.
product and being a part of it. So I'm really interested to see, like, I think, when I grew up, when I was 12, I got to go meet McFarlane at his place, and, it was one of my wishes and stuff. So it was like, it was a really cool experience. But like I went through school and I realized art school wasn't for me, and I got into tattooing and like divergent paths. So I have like this like my mountaintop is it's like doing the work to get back in the same room as the people that I used to revere, but knowing that I deserve to be there because they like there's a recognition of like how much like my path of destruction, not
Right.
my like
Right.
not my sales pitch. um
Yeah. It's
you know
not you bullshit somebody.
yeah,
You've got your trail of tears. You know,
totally, man. Yeah,
you've got
absolutely.
100+ books. Under
Yep,
your
yep,
belt, or
yep,
multiple projects. You've worked
yep,
with some of the greatest writers in indie.
yep, for sure.
Throwing
Like,
down work,
it's
and I
it's the
mean
handshake.
that's that's the Washington Monument.
Totally,
That's the
man.
big, whatever you want to call it, great
Yep,
thing, big
yep,
thing. That's what we're all trying to achieve.
for
What
sure.
kills me is somebody that's only been in this thing a year and they're expecting, whatever,
Mhm.
and they just got on the scene.
Yeah,
You've
yep.
got people that have been grinding it out for indie for 20, 30, 40 years that still nobody knows who the fuck
Hmm.
they are. So
Totally.
why should, somebody bow down to somebody that's only been in the game 6 months to a year?
Hmm.
That's what kills me is those prima donnas, you
There's
know?
the FNG, right?
Yeah,
In every industry, there's the FNG, and like the industries that are still a little bit more cutthroat, like the lowest man on the totem pole or the new guy, like they're still treated, you know, with disdain because it's a way of building the scar tissue and the calluses. I've had apprentices, work in the same shop as me before. I was the apprentice, and not
yeah,
only was I the apprentice, I was the blind apprentice. So I not only had to endure, the standard stuff. I also had to take all the bullshit that people wanted to throw at me because they saw the weakness right there, right? So there's like a level of like, I deserve to be here that I really had to develop.
right.
But there's the sensitivity now where it's like you got to like you're careful because you're respectful.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, I'm respectful to everybody, but like, there's this thing where it's like once I get to know you, like the jokes will flow,
Yeah.
and like, and if it gets too much, let me know because I'll dial it back. But like, you
Dude,
know,
hey, I work offshore, man.
yep,
We talk to each other like fucking dogs out there, but it's all out of love. So nothing you ever say to me is
yeah,
going to offend me. I promise you.
absolutely. Yeah, and but the handshake tells the tale,
Yeah,
like when you are in that room, with the other professionals, whether they're welders, whether they're contractors, whether tile guys, like it doesn't matter, artists, like you can tell by the handshake
yeah,
what those hands do, and it's such a or the fist bump or whatever. Like I'm just saying
yeah,
that like there's this the it's not fake it till you make it. It's make it until you make it. Like
exactly.
it's like even if it's an early attempt, you're not faking it. You're still doing it. You're just not doing it as fast
Exactly.
as you do it in 10 years.
You
You
know, I've said it 1,000 times. Put the work out there.
know?
Quit worrying about who's going to do what. I touched on it a while ago. Putting the passion into it. Put everything you got into it and throw it out there.
Yeah.
Your audience will come.
Mhm.
You'll grow your following.
Yep.
Because they're going to gravitate to that same passion that you put into it. They're going to see it and they're going to gravitate to it.
Totally. I think one of the other thing like that you circle the drain on is finding like indie offers the opportunity for the niche, right? And
Yeah.
like if you want to draw, you know, naked vampires, like one of our mutual friends, like draw naked vampires because if you're really good at it, people are going to lock onto it. And
Oh yeah. God, yeah.
and like like plug to a friend, David Lujan, guy draws a primo naked vampire.
Yep.
But the for me, I know that the power behind my storytelling is my ability to connect to people that have lived through similar experiences as I.
Right.
And so like my all ages project is like, I've told people now like, that I'm not looking to sell to the millionaire who's got every Captain America and who can build a $40,000 cosplay suit. Like if they want to buy my book, great. But I want to look at their like I want their kid to walk up to my table and like just fall in love with the colors and the adventure and the excitement of it because as my
Right.
career develops, I want them to grow and then come back and see what I've continued to develop, later on in my career. And when they see like, oh, it's not just all ages comic books. This guy did horror and this guy did action and this guy did comedy, it's about building a future audience as well as a fan base now. So
Right.
it's I don't
And
know,
you
man.
kind of touched on it a while ago, and I'm gonna kind of build on that. That's why I'm in this. I want somebody to come up and pick my book up, and it does the same thing that McFarlane's work did for me or Jim Lee's work did for me. They look at it and say, "Oh wow, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Mhm.
This is so cool. This is what I want to do right here.
Yep.
I want to be able to inspire young minds the way they inspired mine. You know,
Mhm. Yep.
that's what I want. If I can do that and make a little bit of money on the side, I'm
Mhm.
perfectly happy with that. Leave a
Yeah.
legacy
Yeah,
that
man.
generations will discover and make them want to draw too and make them want to do comics.
Totally.
People always want to talk about all the industries falling. Dude, cavemen were drawing fucking comics on cave walls.
Mhm.
It's not going anywhere.
Yep. No, it's true, man. It's
Yeah.
it's very true. And it's I've had conversations with friends who know people who, are like I say like this they actually know people who are like convention organizers and stuff and they talk about like how difficult artist out like filling artist alleys is becoming and like,
Yeah.
the paper mediums are dying and stuff like that. But it's like every advancement in or every like level of growth, people always doom and gloom, but like the classics still come back,
Oh yeah, man.
like bell bottoms
Hi-
have been back 3 times since
Dude,
I was
history
born.
repeats itself, man.
Totally.
It
It's
ebbs and flows just like anything.
Yeah. And the thing that follows through in that is that there's love, like
Right.
the reason why the artists of the Renaissance are still revered, it's not because there was only five of them, for every Da Vinci, there was like probably a vendor on every street. Hey, come here,
Oh
I
God, it
paint
was
your portrait, you
yeah,
know.
paint the portrait and the
So like
naked ladies.
Y so, like, I
Killing it.
like, like, Albrecht Dürer is one of my favorite, like, artists from, the Renaissance era and stuff because graphically, for me, the first time I saw him, I was like, "Yo, Capullo was here?" Like, it's this,
Yeah,
this crazy, like, the lithographs and stuff, right? Like, um, so I don't know, I just think that, like, when history repeats itself, even if my book is found in a pile of rubble somewhere, they're gonna be like, "Oh, this guy's got this. I think I saw this somewhere before," So,
exactly.
but I'm not gonna stop, like, I preach when I was learning how to tattoo, the thing that they told me was draw, draw, draw. And that was like,
Yeah,
when I'm on the bus, gotta draw. When I'm at home, gotta draw. The only way that like your ability to like produce a peony and a waterfall, with ease is by drawing that thing 50 times so that when somebody asks for it, you can free ball it and it just flows so naturally.
right.
Um,
You got
so
that muscle memory.
yeah, dude. And then like, you apply that to work, 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 like it's not just the art game, it's the family game. Like, when I like my tumor sits on my pituitary gland. So I was like knee high to a small fry all the way until I was like 16. And like, Doug, you're kind of fatter than you're supposed to be tall, So they injected me with growth hormones and stuff. But with that was like, you're not supposed to have a family, So I've
Oh
got a
wow.
family and I've got, a beautiful wife and, I've got this world that I'm holding up on my shoulders now. And I still love to draw, but that's
Yeah.
because I'm working my ass off tattooing and building homes so that I can continue to afford the opportunity to sit down when I'm dog tired to continue my projects so that I can get them to kids in hospitals and get them to convention floors and, like work on becoming that, like the face chiseled on my Everest. Um,
Right.
just kind of to continue rambling, one of the sick parts about Super Wicked White Soul Squadron was that I named many of the main characters after doctors that I've dealt with over the course of my medical career. Um,
Gotcha.
and so, like, we're talking, dude, I was diagnosed in 94. So, like, I've got like 30 plus years now of doctors that I've been working with and that have been keeping me
Wow.
square. Um, you know, but one of the cool things about being, I was telling my dad this the other day, was that like when I reach out to the doctors now, it's not just like I'm not taking them a product where it's like, oh geez, I hope they like it. It's a product that I know has been selling, that kids
Yeah.
are excited about, and I get to like really proudly say I named you like one of your namesakes. So like the other day, a couple last month I had a book launch, and my neuro-ophthalmologist that found the brain tumor came out to it. And so he's in his mid 80s now.
Oh wow.
And then the other day, I got to have a coffee with my pediatric oncologist, who's a couple months away from 80 years old. And so it's like it's been this dude, I've gone years without seeing family members, aunts, uncles, whatever, and
Right.
nothing filled me with more joy than like when I saw these people that were like these beacons in like such dark times. But like comics
Right.
gave me the opportunity to do that. If I was just building houses or tattooing, I still would have reached out to these guys and like said, thank you for, the giving me my life and stuff. But like
Right.
now that I've got like these comics and these things that I get to like, bring to kids and like and give back to, the community that helped me, like it's this really cool thing where it's, I'm pretty still waters run deep. I feel like you're
Right.
probably the same way. Like it takes a lot to like rile me up and like fill me with like
Yeah.
because realistically nobody likes when I make this face. um, but like there's a sense of like ululation when something like these career highs are happening now, where it's like, it's not about like a comic book pro patting me on the back. It's these people that like, save lives and
Right.
help so many
Right.
people, and they're like so just happy to see what I've accomplished. um and so
And
that's
knowing they had a hand in that.
yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, man. It's just like the farther this journey goes, the more it reveals to myself that like it's more than sales are good, but there's
Oh, yeah.
more than sales.
Right.
It's like the work that you put into it will reflect in the spreadsheet 10 years from now, but like you got to build the bricks to get to the mansion.
Exactly.
And so like it's doing the work. It's going to the shows, the big shows, the small shows, the
Right.
outreach. I want to get into like I want to get into schools and like have fun just like, you know, expanding, like I want like when a big, three sits down and has a steak with me, and they're like, Doug, you've got a lot of cool stuff going on. How can we work with, together? I
Yeah.
maybe I'm being delusional in that sense, but like I want to build myself to the point where I am that marketable asset. And
Right.
I think that like, it's just it's nothing if it's not driven by love and support and
Definitely,
it's
man.
like
Anything is possible.
mhm,
But, I've said this a few times, yeah, and you've touched on it too. Nobody's gonna give it to us.
mm-mm.
We have to scratch and claw and put in the work and put in the time, and that's the only way it's gonna happen. You
Yep,
know, there's
absolutely.
these flash in the pants people that come through Kickstarter and they say, "Oh, I put one book out." Whoop de fucking do. There's people that's been making books for 40 years that still
Yep,
haven't worked for the big three, you know.
yep, yep,
It's grinding it out day in and day out, year after
totally.
year. You know,
Yep, yep.
that's that's the grind. I mean, we
Yeah,
talk
man.
about the grind. That is the grind.
Mhm.
Putting in that work, putting in that time. And the grind is real, man.
Yeah.
And go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was just gonna no, I was gonna say that like, nobody handing you anything is such an important thing to touch on because it's like, uh, it's so weird to be like a lone wolf in like in the middle of a den of wolves, right? Like it's
Yeah.
especially the indie community, like everybody the majority of people that you interact with like we're all pretty like-minded, and so
Right.
you get into this like this really cool like the lesser known comics coven where it's like everybody's like we're all spitball and we can shoot the shit, and the community is really strong, but at the end of the day, in this great big ocean we're all heading in the same tide, but we're all in our own boats,
Right.
and so it's like if you see somebody sinking, it's okay to go help them out a little bit, but you still got to worry about
Exactly.
like the wind in your sail and stuff, so it's this really interesting dichotomy of like don't focus on the party culture, focus on the work of it, but understand that
Exactly.
like there is room where like you can still open the window, you can still talk to people like um but it's I don't know, man, it's been again another thing where it's like you don't have to go out for dinner every night, but you still do have to make sure that everybody in Artist Alley is like having a good time,
Right.
like oh, convention tip, man, bring music. If you got a
Really?
little speaker, yeah, dude. In Indianapolis, Mark and I, we were like we had fun. We like talked to our neighbors and stuff, and
Yeah.
but like when it's slow, it's like slow, and like the ventilation systems, all you hear like amongst like nerd chatter is just like so it's like your brain starts fuzzing out.
Right.
And then in Buffalo I brought my DeWalt speaker and we had ska pumping the whole time, and at the end of it like everybody's like, man, it was really cool like jamming out and stuff, like all your neighbors and stuff. And then in Edmonton, same thing, man. I checked my
Yeah.
Spotify end of the year thing today. I had like I don't know, I on Fan Expo weekend it was like 26 hours of Goldfinger or something
Oh,
like
wow,
that.
dude.
So like it was just like it was on the whole weekend. But like everybody said, dude, it was so nice to just have music going the whole time, and like you form these bonds with like your alley mates.
Right.
But yeah, dude, it's
Well,
don't be afraid.
it's
Go
just
ahead.
like it's just like going to war with somebody. You're in the trenches together.
Yeah, I mean, man, I have so much respect for soldiers. I feel like
I know what you mean, and I
yeah.
do
So,
too. But
but
I don't say
I
that lightly. I'm not
yeah.
saying it is
No.
disrespect
I
to
know.
them, but you know
Yeah,
what I'm
no,
saying,
it's being on a team, that's for sure.
right?
Like it's like I played hockey for 15 years, so it's like it's that same thing. It's like you tie up your laces, you put on the equipment, but like your team only wins if everybody does equal shifts, and it takes
Exactly.
whatever. But like somebody's got to be a personality on that team. Somebody like it's takes all sorts, but
Right.
it's cool, man. It's been a really cool year. It's amazing how many like names I still remember from conventions, and people like not just like people that I tabled beside, but like people that came and picked up the book and checked it out, and um, we had laughs with everything. Like it's really cool,
Right.
man. It's infinite potential. Like you've got nothing but cool things coming your way with it.
I can't wait, man. I
Yeah.
can't wait. Well, dude, I have kept you way longer than I said I was going to, and
Not
I
yet, not
feel
yet, not yet.
bad because you got
I
a
gotta tell.
family to get back to.
Yeah, they're watching Squid Games. It's okay.
Okay,
Okay, so check this out. So sweet tea. Okay, so where in the states are you?
Mississippi.
Okay, so when I was say 10, 11, I took my first trip to Disney.
Okay,
So I'm from north of Toronto, and so when we were going through Disney, I was like, I'm thirsty. I want an iced tea, right?
yeah,
And so like for us, we've got Nestea and Nestle products and stuff like that. So I don't
right,
know if you're familiar with this, but like our sweet tea, like our it's just iced tea, right? Like
yeah,
it's like all the sugar, everything. So I remember I got like my big ass, like American extra large iced tea, and I was all excited. I took that first sip. I looked at my mom like somebody just robbed me. I was like, "What is this?" You know, and my mom was like, "I don't know. I asked for an ice." Just like, taste it. It was not acceptable. But it was pretty funny. Like obviously you learn to order what you order when you go to places. But
oh
it's
God, yeah,
it's so
man.
funny, man. It's
The Here's what I ask them when I go to a restaurant. The first time, the first thing I ask them when I order my drink, I said, "Well, I like tea." I said, "And I like sweet tea," but I said, "Here's my question for you. Is it sweet enough that if you run out of syrup for your pancakes, you could replace it with a sweet tea?" I said, "Because if it's not, I'm not drinking your dirty dishwater." So,
That's awesome.
yeah,
The in the movie First Sunday, Tracy Morgan goes into a diner and orders one free pitcher of water, or seven free lemon slices, and a case of free sugar packets or whatever.
no.
And the server is so mad. She's like, "Why don't you just order a damn lemonade?" And then he doubles down. He's like, "I want one free pitcher of water." And so I had to try that. I went into Denny's with my buddies once, and I ordered the free lemonade, and the server was so mad at me.
Wow, man.
Oh man, yeah, that was that's funny times, dude. But okay, man. Now I feel like I got that off my chest. I feel like now's a good time.
Okay. Doug, it was a pleasure having you on, man. I hope to have you on again soon. Uh, Plug everything you got, man.
Yeah, sure,
Your
dude.
socials, just anything, man.
All
Anything
right,
you want to
let's
plug.
see, let's see if I've got it all here. Okay, so the best place to find an active portfolio and updates to everything I'm doing is on Instagram. That's at Cross-Eye Comics. I'm sure the mighty Jerry here will put that link somewhere in
I'm
the
gonna put it
video.
all in the
Oh,
description, dude. When this thing
here down
airs, I'll
below.
be
I've
like,
never done this. Put it all down below
it's
there.
gonna be
Just sprinkle
in the
sprinkle all the
description.
info. Um, so the so Cross-Eye Comics is my Instagram. My publication is Cross-Eye Comics. Um, you can support me by going to my Buy Me a Coffee. That's a really cool source of raising funds for artists that are working away on projects. You can either check out some of the products I've got going on. You can order books off of the Buy Me a Coffee. Kickstarters, you can always keep tuned for follow me on Instagram. Then I'll let you know when my next Kickstarter is coming on. Um, that's pretty much it, man. Like the website is, I feel like a website is just like a blog now, but Instagram, buy me a coffee. You can go to Redbubble if you choose to buy my merch, but even that, then buy me a coffee or go to my Instagram. I'm a happy camper.
Good enough, man.
All
I
right.
like the raspberry with it. Whatever. But like I said, it was awesome talking with you, Doug. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm glad I got you on, man. I'm glad you were available for me.
It
You
was a
know,
pleasure, dude.
that's one of the reasons, that I started this channel was to kind of give back to the community a little bit
Yep.
because, man, everybody has been so generous to me, in this community. They've been there, guys like Dan Price and
Yeah, man. That dude's
Keith
he's a
Moran,
OG. Yep.
Matt Martin. I mean, Mark Bernal. I could go on
Yep.
and on and on.
Yep.
Just some incredible people, that I'll treasure their friendships the rest of my life.
Well,
Period.
it's been really cool, man. Like, and just like a quick, I guess PSA for people that see the Kickstarters and like get tripped out by shipping and stuff like that is like boosting the backer count is just as important as like, boosting your likes and your notifications for your YouTube algorithm. Like, you can donate even if you just chip in $2 to the
Right.
campaign. People see
Anything.
the number increase, and that means the world to indie creators. So like,
God,
don't
yeah.
ever be afraid of like just jumping in on just like that. Just send them a buck, like at the end of the day, like that, it's all important for support. So don't ever be afraid of that. But like, yeah, man, everybody's cool as all hell. Like, you and I have been on a few lives now together, but we've never
Yeah.
had the opportunity to do a one-on-one. And I sincerely hope that one day we can meet somewhere along the Mississippi and do
Hey,
a convention together.
I might even come up north for you, big boy.
Sounds good, man.
And I rarely go north of the Mason Dixon, but I would do that for you.
Listen, we'll go to Buffalo, get some barbecue together.
Hell yeah, man. That sounds awesome.
Sick, dude.
Now you're talking my language.
That's what I'm saying, man. Friends and queuing. That's where it's at.
All right. All right, guys. That's the show. Like Doug mentioned, I will have all his links in the description. Hey, you guys get out there, you follow this guy, buy his stuff. Hey, buy him a coffee if you don't do anything. Buy him a damn coffee. He's a hardworking man. And it takes coffee to keep us going. So support him all you can. Follow his channel. Is an incredible dude. It's a pleasure just to know you, man. I'm gonna tell you guys again. This is not Fight Club. I want you to tell everybody about this channel. Everybody, friends, enemies, mother-in-laws, anybody. I don't care. You tell them about this channel and get them to subscribe. All right, that's enough of that. Oh, drop a like, drop a comment. Let us know what you would like to see on here. Let us tell Doug what you think about him. Drop a line.
You can tell me what you think about me, but I won't read it.
Well, that's the show, boys and girls. Thanks for joining us again. Peace.